I know it's unusual for me to post videos within a 48-hour period, but I feel that sometimes something pops up that has to be covered then and there, or you lose the moment. This, I believe, is one of those cases. I think my audience is very aware of what feminists claim are top picks in relation to female oppression, and this topic at this time of year ranks very highly on that list. So without further ado, why you shouldn't be a sexy nurse for Halloween. You should be an ugly one. Years ago, Karen Wade noticed a bumper sticker on the car of an acquaintance that made her blood boil. It depicted a nurse wearing a low-cut, old-style uniform. That's shocking. According to Wade, PhD, RN, BC, and founder of the Nurse to Nurse Network, she was holding a long hypodermic needle filled with a colourful liquid, wearing a "come hither" expression, Wade remembers. The implication was that her male patient would take off his pants, bare his butt, and have some kind of sexual experience with the nurse. This is just garden variety sexual objectification of women, she says now. Seeing it made me feel disgusted and confused, and a similar visceral feeling comes up for her when she thinks about people wearing cliched yet popular sexy nurse Halloween costumes amid the COVID-19 pandemic. Seriously, I think these women should take a Rorschach test. I mean, the analysis would be lengthy, but it may produce really entertaining results. I do wonder why these women are so offended. Do they not see that their profession is getting serious overrepresentation? Think of all the females who see a sexy nurse and are then convinced to go into the profession. That's how it works, isn't it? Then think of all the guys who see a sexy nurse and... well, okay, I'll leave that point to one side. Nurses are putting their lives on the line every day, she said. This has been true for years, but especially so now. The Centers for Disease Control and Prevention notes that healthcare professionals are at risk for contracting COVID-19. No shit. They were on the front lines of the pandemic, often without enough or adequate personal protective equipment. You need your PP equipment, okay? They're also dealing with the mental health repercussions. They're experiencing high levels of emotional overwhelm and depression, according to a survey from the American Nurses Foundation. All this is to say, we should be hailing and respecting our nurses right now, not sexualizing them. Trust me, nursey, the more you go on, the less sexualizing is being done. I mean, this is the literal definition of a boner killer. However, I will say that nurses, although important, are really not the only ones being affected by fluhan right now. If you take a peek outside the hospital ward, I think you might find the beer bug is actually having an impact worldwide. If people want to play out the sexy nurse fantasy in private, that's their business. Then you butt out and that's the end of the conversation. What's the problem? But even in normal pre-COVID times, it was harmful and disrespectful to exhibit this stereotype because it reinforces the woman as sexual object idea that we fought to conquer for decades. Not to mention, it diminishes the vital work that nurses do. First things first, respect is earned, not bestowed. Not to diminish her achievements, but if graduating nursing school was such a unique, awe-inspiring task, How come there are literally thousands of nurses graduating every year? Also, I want you to give me an example of how females who choose to wear sexy nurse Halloween costumes diminish the actual work nurses do. I do not see the cause and effect. Will someone donning the outfit cause an actual nurse to misplace or misapply her catheter? I do not really want to dwell on that one. The popular Halloween retailer Yandy, known for their myriad provocative costumes as well as some downright offensive ones, made the decision to keep selling their nurse costumes this year. Some of these outfits come with garter straps and dubious names such as Notice Me Nurse and Really Naughty Nurse. They're a far cry from scrubs. Then there's your answer. If you keep wearing the scrubs instead of the sexy nurse outfits in work, people will quickly separate the fantasy from the reality. We discussed nurses' costumes internally prior to Halloween and made the decision to continue to offer them. Alice Thompson, Director of Brand Marketing at Yandy, told Refinery29 in a statement, "Obviously, fluhan itself is nothing to laugh at, and we aren't encouraging that. We've made a conscious decision to position and market nurse costumes this year as essentially part of the superhero category. Put them on a pedestal and worship them as they deserve." To summarize, we have listened and understood your concerns, but money talks and bull walks. Also, we do not want to go broke, so we ain't getting woke. Seriously though, the actual nurses seem to fail to understand that it is generally not the guys buying the sexy nurse outfits. The majority of these costumes, I would suspect, are purchased by the females who intend to wear them. I say we put the real nurses and the sexy nurses in a gladiatorial mud wrestling ring and let them battle it out sister against sister, winner take all. I am betting the ratings for that would also be phenomenal. But not everyone agrees that nurses are actually feeling the so-called worship from their communities, and certainly not at the same level they were at the beginning of the pandemic. It's a jealousy thing. We feel a bit weird about the fuss that is being made, because doing dangerous, uncomfortable things and putting our lives on the line are pretty standard, says Amy Baxter, MD, CEO, and Chief Medical Officer at Pain Care Labs. This is what we've always done. The hero worship is on other people's radar, not ours. Now we're getting to the issue. The COVIDiots are pedestaling all in the medical profession for doing their jobs, and as attention they're either asking for, which they did earlier, or not asked for, and they just want to get on with doing their normal tasks without being deified. I don't think any nurse would feel worse about a sexy nurse costume than at any other time, Dr. Baxter opines, nor would a mad scientist doctor offend me, except that it would most definitely be played by a straight white cis male, which, oh my god. Now that is naked sexism on display for you. Firstly, there are female mad scientist costumes and females more than willing to buy them. Also, what exactly is your problem with males dressing up as mad scientists? Some people disagree, saying that their views on the costume have changed since 2019. For instance, Linda Rice, a certified nurse midwife, anticipates the costume pushing her buttons in a way it would not have in the past. Ooh. As much as I hate the sexy nurse costume, I wouldn't feel the need to criticize someone wearing it, Rice says. But this year, the least we can do is show a little respect. Nursing as a career has been a microcosm of the general cultural misogyny, Rice adds. While all the healthcare workers have exposed themselves to COVID this year, nurses had the most actual contact with COVID patients in most scenarios. Aside from risking our lives working 12-hour shifts in full PPE equipment and N95 masks is miserable enough. And when we had to resort to wearing garbage bags as gowns, we still showed up to work. We also are being paid to do this, and you still have a job, unlike thousands of others who recently lost theirs. I can't quite remember why. I want to unpick your comment in the middle. Nursing as a career has been a microcosm of misogyny. That is a strange comment to make, as I've observed that in general, nurses are majority female, with a power structure organized and run by majority female senior nurses, managed by other female nurses who have progressed into the upper hierarchy. I do not see the point where men are involved. To end this video in an inclusive message, I will proclaim that any female above the legal age of consent who wants to wear the sexy nurse outfit this Halloween should be free to do so. I promise I will not object or objectify you. You should not be nurse shamed because you want to identify as a nurse for a night, and anyone who says differently is a bigot. As for the upset real nurses, my final parting words are for you. You made your own choices in life. Live with them.